Let me just say that one of the things that's gotten me genuinely outraged about what's going on in Raleigh, and that's the word outraged, is the fact that debate doesn't really occur down there. And I want to give you a statistic, which all of the members of this panel can go ahead and check, because I've been keeping the tab. We've called the question in less than 12 months 35 times. That means we've cut off debate in the body 35 times in the last 12 months. Because there's this mentality, we got 68 votes, you Democrats have 52, we can basically do what we want to do. And legislation that's not ready for prime time gets rammed through, ends up in court. And by the way, if you're an attorney, it's a good time to be in Raleigh, because the courts are filled up with the legislation that's coming through. Yeah, they're creating jobs for that group of people. But the point is, let me give you a point of comparison. The point of comparison is this. In the previous 4 years, in the previous 48 months, the question was called 7 times. 7 times in 48 months versus 35 times in 12 months. I'm going to leave that one where it stands. I want to correct one other thing that was said here tonight, to be supportive, not to be critical. North Carolina now ranks 49th in the nation in per pupil spending on K-12 education. That is unconscionable. There's only one state behind us, it's Utah. Ladies and gentlemen, we are behind Mississippi, South Carolina in per pupil spending, state spending on K-12 education. Now, if that doesn't get you, I'm not sure what's going to, because we are eating our seed corn. We cut preschool education roughly 20%. You want to translate that in terms of the old More at 4 program, that's about 6,400 students. 6,400 at-risk 4-year-olds. You're only 4 years old one time. There's no do-over on being 4. They're going to be in kindergarten next year, and they're not going to be ready. Cut your community college system, where we've got a lot of people that have been unemployed going back to retool, 10% across the board. It's about 16% in your university systems, $35 million in need-based financial aid. That translates into 9,500 students. That's what's going on down there. When they promised that 1 cent sales tax, they didn't tell you what was going to be cut. $1 billion out of education. It's unconscionable.
What about health care?
That's all I have to say.
I will be very brief. I just want you to know I got an email today saying the 7th female has now decided not to run because of the gerrymandering that has been done in our legislature this year.
Oh, no.
This is 7 females who have been gerrymandered, including me, who have been gerrymandered out of their seat in the House of Representatives. And I think you need to know that. And I think you also need to just think very strongly that the person who has created so much havoc in Buncombe County, our Republican legislator, would not have been there at all if we had elected Jane Weldon.
Exactly.
Jane is, and I'm sorry, I know y'all can't talk about individuals, but I can. You let me up.
She's on our board. You talk about it.
Jane is running against Tim again,
Yay.
and we can put her in, we can take him out, and we can clean up some of this stuff that's been going on. So I would ask, and of course I'm running for Congress, so I would want your vote too. And Debbie DeBrule is going to run in the seat that I've been gerrymandered out of. So we do have candidates who are running, who are part of us, who are one of us, and I just hope that you will get out and do what you can do. And I'm looking over here at Chuck McGrady, and y'all need to know, Chuck McGrady is one of our legislators. He's a Republican. He's from Henderson County. But on occasion, Chuck votes with us, and he needs to get credit for that.
We love you.
And I was going to say, I'm either very stupid or somewhat brave. I'm here tonight. I am a freshman Republican from Henderson County. The part of the problem in the General Assembly, my perception of it, is there are a lot of extremes and not very many middles. And you might be surprised that some amount of the complaints that were discussed tonight I agree with. I was the guy that offered the amendment to not allow employees to take their guns to work.
Thank you.
And I also worked on the guns things on parks and restaurants and all sorts of other things. I'm also the guy that's working on the billboard set of issues as they clear. The system is, you know, what the people in my county are complaining about the system being broke in Washington. And what I'm trying to tell them is I actually think it's broke in North Carolina. There's not a lot of discussion. It's surprising to me as a freshman, and I defer to Ray. He's been around a lot longer than I have in the General Assembly, but there's not a lot of discussion, meaningful discussion about issues. There's a lot of bullying. And I was a summer camp director before I became a legislator, and my frustration is that all the behaviors that I wouldn't put up with at my summer camp are very much in evidence in the General Assembly. Behaviors that I would put an 11-year-old boy on the front porch of his cabin in timeout to think about for a while are exactly the behaviors that are occurring. And so often we're put in places where we're being asked to do something that doesn't feel quite right. It may not be wrong technically, it may be compliant in the rules, but it just doesn't feel like the way you should treat people. And it's justified because back in 1996 on September 16th, the Democrats did it. Well, how do you get out of that cycle? And that's really the problem from where I sit. I'm fiscally conservative and very much a centrist, and there's not many opportunities for those like me to work across party lines. So anyway, I really appreciate the invitation, and there are issues that I think we can work together.